I waited 25 years to get my revenge, and it was more than worth it. Back in high school, I had this guidance counselor named Mr. Peterson, who absolutely destroyed my confidence during what should have been one of the most important meetings of my teenage life. I was 17 and had just gotten accepted to 3 different colleges. My grades weren't perfect, but they were decent, and I was so excited to show him my acceptance letters. I thought he'd be proud of me, since I came from a family where nobody had ever gone to college. I walked into his office with the biggest smile on my face and spread the letters across his desk. Instead of congratulating me, he barely glanced at them and said, "Listen, sweetie, college isn't for everyone. You're probably better off finding a nice boy to marry or maybe learning to do hair." I was shocked. I asked him what he meant, and he leaned back in his chair and said, "Look at your family. Your dad works construction, your mom cleans houses, college is expensive, and you'll probably just drop out anyway. Save yourself the debt and stick to what you know." Then he said the thing that haunted me for years. Girls like you don't become doctors or lawyers. You become wives and mothers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't waste everyone's time pretending you're something you're not. I left his office crying and almost didn't go to college because of what he said. But my mom, who cleaned houses to help pay for my education, told me to prove him wrong. So I did. I graduated with honors, went to medical school, and became a pediatric surgeon. It took me 10 years of school and residency, but I did it. I saved kids' lives for a living, while Mr. Peterson was probably still crushing teenagers' dreams in his little office. Fast forward to last month. I'm now the head of pediatric surgery at the Children's Hospital, and I get a call from the hospital's HR department. They're interviewing candidates for a new patient coordinator position, and one of the applicants listed me as a reference. I looked at the name and almost fell out of my chair. It was Mr. Peterson. Apparently, he'd been laid off from the school district due to budget cuts and was looking for work. He'd somehow found out I worked at the hospital and put me down as a reference, probably hoping I wouldn't remember him. The HR director asked if I could meet with him to discuss his qualifications. I said absolutely and scheduled the meeting for the next day. When Mr. Peterson walked into my office, his face went completely white. He clearly remembered me, and I could see him trying to figure out if I remembered him too. I let him squirm for a minute before I spoke. "So, Mr. Peterson, I see you're interested in working with sick children. That's interesting, considering you used to tell healthy children they weren't good enough for their dreams." He started stammering about how that was a long time ago and he didn't really remember our conversation. I pulled out a folder and said, "Funny thing about being told you'll never be a doctor. It really sticks with you." I opened the folder and showed him copies of my medical degree, my surgical certification, and a newspaper article about a surgery I'd performed that saved triplets. Then I looked him right in the eye and said, "Girls like me do become doctors, Mr. Peterson, and sometimes we get to decide who gets hired and who doesn't." His face turned red and he started apologizing, saying he was young and made mistakes. I told him I appreciated the apology, but the position required someone who believed in people's potential, not someone who crushed it. I walked him to the door and said, "Good luck with your job search. I'm sure you'll find something that suits your limited vision." The best part, 3 of my colleagues were in the hallway when he left looking completely defeated. One of them asked who he was, and I said, "Just someone who taught me that the best revenge is proving people wrong and then having the power to remind them about it." He never got the job, and every time I perform surgery and save a child's life, I think about that meeting and smile.